Hello, writers, and welcome to week number 7 of English 101. We are right about at the midway point in the semester. And as you can see in this week's assignments, you only have two readings that you're going to have to go through because I recognize that you are going to be working on your final drafts of essay number 1, and you do still have your Reflecting Forward digital journal. The major reading for this week is the Greenfield, the standard English fairy tale reading. It's not terribly long, but as you will probably note, um, the way that this writer composes their language is a little bit circuitous. I think it's not quite so bad as Kanagaraja, but it's not as simple as it might be. In essence, what Greenfield is arguing here is that when we think about linguists and the way that linguists think about language, essentially they see all types of languages as basically equal. And for Greenfield, they wonder if, since linguists see languages, French, Spanish, Chinese, Japanese, English, as pretty much equal to one another, then why is it that different ways of using English are given more respect, whereas other ways of using English are given less respect? And one of the things that Greenfield thinks about quite a lot is the ways that using certain Englishes can be very marginalizing. And they use the context of what we used to call Ebonics. Um, Essentially, that's African American vernacular English. And they make the point that um, in proper English, we might say the word ask, for instance. And if you were speaking to someone that came from a neighborhood, say in inner city Los Angeles or inner city New York, rather than saying ask, they might say ax. And somehow, for people that look down on non-standard formal English, or excuse me, non-standard English, somehow that pronunciation is less valuable than using the ask pronunciation, using terms and using phrases in ways that standard formal English just doesn't accept. For Greenfield, doesn't really seem to make a lot of sense, because when we look at different ways of using English in different nationalities, in different communities, in different cities, um, they always have a sort of framework that is understandable. There are rules that sort of guide the way that people are going to use this English, just like with standard formal English. So, why is it that these other ways of putting words together in the English language are so disrespected? And what is the effect when we have so many people that place standard formal English up on a pedestal, yet deride different ways of using the English language? For Greenfield, they connect that to racism and the ways that teaching standard formal English and demanding standard formal English actually can help uphold oppressive systems within our society, and can result in just marginalizing and oppressing other people just because of the way they put language together. It's not that they are less intelligent or that we can understand them any less, according to Greenfield. It is unfair for us to sort of take one way of using English and put that on a pedestal, say that is the right way, while at the same time, we are taking another way of putting English language together, a way that has its own rules and expectations, um, and putting that one down when, in linguists' view, all languages are equal. So, this argument that standard formal English is somehow better for Greenfield just really doesn't make a whole lot of sense if we take into consideration this concept that all languages are equal. Yet at the same time, in our society, the different ways of using English are not considered equal. And Greenfield pushes back on that and asks us to think about why this is and to consider the ways that using language can uphold systematic racism. For some people, this is a bridge too far. They say that we should be doing code switching all the time, and that we should be teaching, as educators like me, we should be teaching people how to use their own language or students' own language, and at the same time also be able to use standard formal English. And they will argue that it is in the best interests of those marginalized populations for us as educators to teach both ways and to teach students how to navigate both ways of using English. On the other hand, if Greenfield is right and sort of pigeonholing one way of using language as less desirable, uh, aren't we as educators actually playing a role in upholding this marginalization of different people's ways of using the English language? In other words, as an educator, by demanding standard formal English when I demand standard formal English, am I not in some way contributing to and upholding the oppression of people who do not use standard formal English and may use Ebonics or African American Vernacular English or Chicano English or Pidgin or Gullah? Different ways of using English are somehow disrespected. And for Greenfield, those of us who are educators have to take into consideration how we are upholding and maintaining those ways of oppression and marginalization by teaching English in the ways that we teach English. It's totally up to you to make that decision. Some of you I know feel very strongly that code meshing is going to be the way of the world, and Greenfield would probably agree with that because they claim that language is always changing and the ways that we use language is always changing. Some of you, on the other hand, say that we should be code switching and agree with those who say we must teach students how to go back and forth between the different ways of using language. And if we don't, we're closing doors to those who could be in professional situations if only they knew how to use standard formal English. It's a tricky, I guess, sticky wicket is what my mom would call it. How do we take a look at this? How do we measure value? How do we navigate this world of diversity, of inclusion, of um, just really wanting to show equity and respect to everyone? But if we're forcing standard formal English, are we kind of talking out of both sides of our mouths? So I do believe in diversity. I do believe in inclusion. I do believe in breaking down patriarchy. I do believe in breaking down oppressive systems. Yet at the same time, I'm teaching standard formal English, and demanding standard formal English in papers for the most part. For the most part. Am I part of the problem? That's up to you to decide for this week. The blog, the Walsh blog, takes a look at this movement where we should be valuing students' own ways of using their language and allowing them to use their ways of language in the classroom much more than we have, at least up to fairly recently. You will notice on the PAR, we do welcome the use of non-standard English in your essays. But can I say I've seen a lot of non-standard English in most portfolios? Uh-uh. It just doesn't happen. Why? I'm going to leave that up to you. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, complaints, scary dreams, freaky things, spiders in your bedroom, feel free to reach out. I'm looking forward to reading the final drafts of your papers, and I hope you have a good rest of your day, my writers. Take good care. Bye-bye.